63 years is a long time to wait for a letter, but for Mira Novak, that's exactly how long it took for her sister's words to find her. A weathered envelope, a familiar handwriting, a message from someone the family had buried in their hearts decades ago. What secrets could possibly survive that many years of silence? And why did a promise made during wartime take over half a century to be delivered? Some letters are never meant to be found. Others find their way home, no matter how long the journey. This is one of those stories. Mira Novak shuffled down her driveway in worn slippers. The October wind nipped at her thin robe, but she barely noticed. At 85, checking the mail was one of the few morning chores she still insisted on doing herself. Her daughter Sophia always fussed, saying she should wait until after breakfast when the Minnesota chill had lifted a bit. "I've survived worse than cold mornings," Mira would say with a wave of her hand. She pulled the metal mailbox door open, with fingers bent from arthritis. Bills, advertisements, a card from her grandson at college. Nothing special. She was about to close the box when she spotted another envelope tucked against the back. It was thinner than the others, the corners soft and worn. Mira pulled it out and nearly dropped everything else. The handwriting on the front made her heart stop. She knew those careful loops and swirls, the way the letters tilted slightly to the right. Her sister's handwriting, Eleni's handwriting. Eleni, who had died in 1949. Mira's legs felt suddenly weak. She clutched the mail to her chest and stared at the impossible envelope. The return address was written in Greek, with a village name she hadn't heard spoken in over 60 years. The postmark was faded but clear enough to read. May 17th, 1960, 63 years ago. "This isn't possible," Mira whispered to herself. Her hands trembled so badly that the other mail slipped from her grasp, scattering across the driveway. She didn't even try to pick it up. Eleni had died when she was 18. The whole family had gotten the news. The medical camp where she volunteered had been bombed during the Greek Civil War. There were no survivors. The grief had hollowed out their parents, changed everything. It was why they'd left Greece, why they'd come to America, to escape the memories, to start over. Yet here was a letter, addressed to the family's old home in Greece, but somehow forwarded across oceans and decades to find her here in Minnesota. A letter from a ghost. Mira made her way slowly back to the house, her eyes never leaving the envelope. In the kitchen, she placed it carefully on the table. Should she open it? What if it wasn't real? What if her old mind was playing tricks? No. The handwriting was Eleni's. No one else made their letters just that way. Mira would recognize it anywhere, even after all these years. With shaking fingers, she reached for the phone and dialed Sophia's number. "Mom? Everything okay?" Sophia answered on the second ring, concern in her voice. Mira rarely called this early. "I need you to come over," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Right now." "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" The worry in Sophia's voice sharpened. No, I'm fine." But Sophia... Mira paused, hardly believing what she was about to say. "I got a letter from Eleni." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. "Mom, Aunt Eleni died in the war. Before I was even born." "I know what I know," Mira insisted. "It's her handwriting. The letter is postmarked 1960. Somehow it found me after all these years." Another pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't open it until I get there, okay?" After hanging up, Mira sat at the kitchen table, staring at the envelope. Memories flooded back, so vivid they might have happened yesterday instead of 7 decades ago. Eleni's laugh, bright and fearless even when bombs fell too close to their village. The way she would sneak extra olives to Mira at dinner. Her fierce protection when soldiers came through. Always putting herself between danger and her little sister. "I will come back for you," Eleni had promised the day she left to help at the medical camp. She had hugged Mira tightly, then pressed their foreheads, together as she always did when making a serious promise. "No matter what happens, I will find a way back to you." Tears blurred Mira's vision. She had been 12 when Eleni left. After the news came of the bombing, she had waited months, hoping her sister had somehow survived. She would sit by the road leading into the village, watching for Eleni's tall figure to appear over the hill. But Eleni never came. Eventually, Mira stopped waiting. Now, 63 years later, Mira reached out and touched the yellowed envelope with trembling fingers. Had Eleni survived somehow? Was this letter written by her sister who should have been long dead? And why had it taken so long to reach her? The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the quiet kitchen. Outside, leaves skittered across the driveway, where the forgotten bills still lay scattered. Mira's heart pounded in her chest. After all these years, she was finally going to hear her sister's voice again. Mira closed her eyes, letting memories wash over her. Not the painful ones of war and loss, but the bright, golden moments from before everything changed. She remembered summers in their village outside Thessaloniki. The air always smelled of sea salt and wild herbs. Their small stone house sat on a hill overlooking olive groves that stretched toward the distant blue of the Aegean Sea. Eleni was 6 years older, tall and strong where Mira was small for her age. "You're like a little sparrow," Eleni would say, lifting Mira onto her shoulders. "But sparrows are tougher than they look." Mira smiled at the memory. She could almost feel the warmth of the Greek sun on her face, hear the cicadas buzzing in the olive trees. When Mira was 7, Eleni had taught her to swim in a hidden cove away from the village. Mira had been terrified, clinging to her sister's neck as the waves lapped around them. "I won't let you go until you're ready," Eleni had promised. "Trust me, little flower." Little flower. Eleni's special name for her, because Mira loved to collect wild flowers from the hillsides. Mira opened her eyes, back in her Minnesota kitchen. Outside, fat snowflakes had begun to fall, so different from the Greece of her childhood. The doorbell rang, startling her. Sophia was here. "Mom?" Sophia called, letting herself in. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, still wearing her coat, cheeks pink from the cold. Her eyes immediately went to the envelope on the table. "Is that it?" Mira nodded. "It's her handwriting, Sophia. I'd know it anywhere." Sophia hung her coat and sat beside her mother. At 58, Sophia had Mira's dark eyes and the same stubborn set to her jaw. But her height and the way she carried herself, that was all Eleni. Though Sophia had never met her aunt, somehow she had inherited her presence. "Tell me about her again," Sophia said gently, taking her mother's hand, "before we open it." Mira had told these stories many times, but Sophia knew her mother needed this moment, needed to remember before facing whatever waited inside that envelope. "Eleni was the brave one," Mira began, "even before the war. When I was afraid of thunderstorms, she would make up stories about the thunder being old Greek gods playing drums in the clouds." Mira smiled at the memory. She wanted to be a doctor. She was so smart. Our teacher said she could get a scholarship, maybe study in Athens someday. "What was she like with you?" Sophia asked, protective. patient. But she could be stern, too. She didn't let me get away with anything. Mira laughed softly. There was this one time when I was 9. I stole figs from old Mr. Stavros's tree. Eleni made me return them and apologize, even though Mr. Stavros was the meanest man in the village. The kitchen grew quiet as Mira's mind drifted to darker memories. The war changed everything, she continued. First the Germans, then the fighting among Greeks themselves. Communist rebels in the mountains, government troops in the villages. Nobody knew who to trust. Mira remembered the tension in their home, the whispered arguments between her parents. At night, their father had sided with the government forces. Their mother, terrified this choice would bring danger to their door. Eleni tried to stay neutral. She said healing people shouldn't be political. Mira's voice grew soft. When the medical camp was set up for civilian casualties, she volunteered. She was only 18, but she had been helping our village doctor since she was 14. Mira could still see Eleni packing her small bag that spring morning in 1949. Their mother crying, begging her not to go. Their father silent, his face like stone. The last thing she did was take me outside, away from our parents, Mira said. She pressed her forehead against mine and made me promise to be strong no matter what happened. I will come back for you, she said. I promise, little flower. 3 weeks later, word came that the medical camp had been bombed. No survivors. Their mother took to her bed for months. Their father became a shell of himself, working in the olive groves from dawn until dusk, speaking to no one. 6 months after that, we left for America, Mira finished. Our cousin Dmitri was already in Chicago. He helped us get visas. My parents said there was nothing left for us in Greece. Too many ghosts. Sophia squeezed her mother's hand. And now this letter arrives, 63 years late. Mira nodded, her eyes fixed on the envelope. After the bombing, I waited for her every day. I would sit on the big rock at the edge of our village, watching the road. I believed she would keep her promise. And maybe she tried to, Sophia said quietly. Mira traced her finger over Eleni's handwriting on the envelope. There's only one way to find out. Outside, the snow fell harder, covering the world in quiet white. Inside, 2 women sat at a kitchen table, facing a letter that had traveled across oceans and decades to deliver its message. A message from a sister who was supposed to be long dead. I'm ready now, Mira said. Let's open it. With careful fingers, Sophia picked up the envelope. The paper felt delicate, like it might turn to dust at any moment. She slid her finger under the flap, easing it open with gentle pressure. The glue has barely any hold left after all these years, she said. Inside was a letter folded into thirds. 5 pages, the paper yellowed and thin. As Sophia carefully unfolded them, both women leaned forward. The first page was covered in neat Greek handwriting, the same careful loops and swirls as on the envelope. Eleni's handwriting. Can you still read Greek, Mom? Sophia asked softly. Mira nodded, tears filling her eyes. I never forgot. She took the pages with trembling hands and began to read aloud, translating for her daughter. My dearest family, she began, her voice catching. I don't know if this letter will reach you, but I must try. I am alive. The stories you may have heard about the bombing of our medical camp are true, but I was not killed. I was badly hurt and have spent weeks recovering. Mira paused, pressing her hand to her mouth. Sophia squeezed her shoulder, encouraging her to continue. I was found in the rubble by strangers. I still don't know if they are with the government. or the rebels. They took me to a small village in the mountains to heal. I had a broken leg and arm and many cuts. I couldn't walk for weeks. Mira turned to the second page. They won't tell me exactly where I am, and I am not allowed to leave yet. But one of the women who tends to me has promised to give this letter to a traveling merchant who will mail it when he reaches the next big town. Please tell Mira that I haven't forgotten my promise. As soon as I am well enough, I will either come home or send word of where I am so you can reach me. The people here are not unkind, but I don't think they trust me. I don't know which side they fight for, if they fight at all. Mira's voice grew steadier as she continued reading, as if drawing strength from her sister's words coming alive after all these years. I think of you all every day. Father, with your quiet strength. Mother, with your gentle hands and fierce heart. And my little Mira, growing taller each time I see you. Are you still collecting wildflowers? Do you still sing while you help Mother with the washing? Mira wiped tears from her cheeks. She was thinking about us even then. The fourth page contained Eleni's hopes for returning home, her questions about the village, whether certain neighbors were safe. And then came the final page. I must finish now. The merchant leaves at sunrise. Please don't worry about me. I am healing well and growing stronger each day. The mountains here are beautiful, though not as beautiful as our sea. When I can walk properly again, I will find my way back to you. Mira's voice broke as she read the final lines. Tell my little flower that I watch the moon each night, and know she sees the same moon. Tell her I am keeping my promise, though it takes longer than I hoped. Don't give up on me, little flower. I am trying to find my way back to you. All my love, always, Eleni. Silence filled the kitchen. Sophia stared at her mother, whose face showed both joy and deep pain. She was alive, Mira whispered. After they told us she was dead, she was alive. This letter is dated June 1949, Sophia said, looking at the top of the first page. But the postmark is from 1960. That's 11 years later. And it took 63 years to reach me, Mira said, touching the pages gently. Why? And what happened to Eleni after she wrote this? Did she ever make it home? Did she look for us and find we had gone to America? Sophia shook her head. I don't know, Mom. The letter was addressed to your old home in Greece. Someone must have forwarded it, maybe many times, until it found you here. If she survived to write this letter, Mira said slowly, is it possible she survived longer? Could she have lived a full life somewhere? Could she still be? She couldn't finish the thought. Sophia did the math quickly. If Aunt Eleni was 18 in 1949, she would be 91 now. Hope flickered in Mira's eyes. Old, but not impossible. What do you want to do, Mom? Mira straightened her shoulders, a determination in her face that Sophia hadn't seen in years. I want to find out what happened to my sister. I want to know if she's still out there somewhere, thinking I gave up on her. Sophia looked at her mother with concern. Mom, you're 85, and we don't even know where to start looking. I may be old, but I'm not dead yet, Mira said firmly. And I know exactly where to start. We need to find out why this letter took so long to arrive. Over the next few days, Mira's quiet house became a center of activity. Sophia brought her laptop and set up at the kitchen table. Her husband, Paul, made calls to the post office. Even Mira's grandson, Leo, helped from college, using the internet to research the Greek Civil War. I found something, Sophia said on the third day. a postal historian at the University of Minnesota. He studies how mail moves around the world, especially during wars and disasters. The next morning, Professor Keller arrived at Mira's house. He was a short man with thick glasses and a bow tie. After examining the envelope and letter carefully, he nodded thoughtfully. "This is fascinating," he said. "During the Greek Civil War, mail was often held or lost. Government forces and rebels both interfered with mail service, especially from areas they suspected of supporting the other side." "But this letter is postmarked 1960, Sophia pointed out. "That's 11 years after it was written." Professor Keller adjusted his glasses. "My guess is the merchant never mailed it. Perhaps he was stopped, or he forgot. Someone else found it years later and finally put it in the mail in 1960. But why did it take 63 years to reach us?" Mira asked. "That's the real mystery," he admitted. "My best guess is it was misrouted or forgotten in some remote post office. There have been cases where old mail sacks were found during renovations of small postal buildings. Letters from decades ago, never delivered. So, by pure chance, it finally found its way to me," Mira said softly. "Pure chance, or perhaps something more," Professor Keller smiled kindly. "Some might call it fate." After he left, Sophia continued her online research. She connected with Greek historical societies and groups that documented survivors of the Etruscan Civil War. "Mom, I found something interesting," she said that evening. "Some prisoners from the Civil War were transferred to camps in Eastern Europe. Records are spotty, but there are documented cases of Greeks who were missing for years, only to reappear in places like Bulgaria or Romania. Meanwhile, Paul called cousins and distant relatives still living in Greece, asking if anyone remembered, Eleni, or knew what happened after the bombing of the medical camp. Leo sent daily emails with information he found in his university library. Grandma, there were several medical camps set up near the border. I found a list of volunteers, but no Novaks. Most records from that time are incomplete, though." A week into their search, Mira's energy began to flag. The excitement of the letter had given her strength, but now the enormity of their task was setting in. Finding someone who disappeared 63 years ago seemed impossible. "Maybe we should take a break," Sophia suggested one evening, seeing how tired her mother looked. "No," Mira said firmly. "I waited 63 years for this letter. I won't wait another day to find answers." That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She got up and went to the closet in her spare bedroom. From the top shelf, she pulled down a battered cardboard box she hadn't opened in years. Inside were the few precious items she had brought from Greece. A small icon of the Virgin Mary. A blue glass bead her mother had given her for her 10th birthday. And photographs, faded, creased photographs of a life long gone. Mira carried the box to the kitchen table and began sorting through the photos. There weren't many. Film had been scarce during the war years. She found what she was looking for at the bottom of the box. The last picture taken of Eleni, just days before she left for the medical camp. She stood in front of their house, tall and serious in a simple dress, her dark hair pulled back. Unlike most photographs where people posed stiffly, Eleni was caught in motion, turning toward the camera with a half smile, as if someone had called her name. Mira traced her sister's face with a trembling finger. "I never gave up," she whispered. Next morning, she showed the photograph to Sophia. "She looks like you," Sophia said in wonder. "No," Mira corrected gently. "You look like her." That afternoon, as Sophia worked on her laptop, sending more emails to historical societies, Mira noticed her mother's hands shaking as she made tea. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked, alarmed. Just tired, Mira said, but the color had drained from her face. She sat down heavily in a kitchen chair. I'm calling Dr. Patel, Sophia said firmly. No need to fuss, Mira protested, but her voice was weak. That evening, after a visit from the doctor, Sophia sat beside her mother's bed. Dr. Patel had been concerned about Mira's blood pressure and ordered rest. We'll pause the search until you're stronger, Sophia said. Mira shook her head stubbornly. We can't stop now. Just then, Sophia's phone rang. The number was international, with a Greek's country code. Hello, she answered. A man's voice spoke in accented English. Is this Sophia Novak? My name is Dimitri Alexopoulos. I am calling from Athens. I believe I have information about a nurse named Eleni Novak, who survived the Civil War. Sophia's hand tightened on the phone. She put it on speaker so her mother could hear. Yes, this is Sophia. My mother is Eleni's sister, Mira. We received your email at the Historical Society of Greek War Survivors, Dimitri explained. I specialize in documenting those who disappeared during the conflict. The name Eleni Novak caught my attention because I have records of a nurse with that name. Mira sat up in bed, her eyes wide. What do you know about her? Sophia asked, trying to keep her voice steady. After the war, there was a nurse named Eleni Novak who worked in a village on the island of Kythera. She was there from approximately 1951 until 1972, when my records end. 1972, Mira whispered. She was alive for at least 23 years after we thought she died. Would it be possible to send us those records? Sophia asked. Some, yes. But if you truly want to learn about Eleni Novak, you should come to Greece. The people of Kythera might remember her. Some elders there might have known her personally. After the call ended, Sophia looked at her mother worriedly. Mom, you're not well enough to travel. Mira's face was set with determination. I've waited 63 years to find my sister. I'm going to Greece, with or without a doctor's permission. 2 weeks later, against Dr. Patel's strong advice, Mira and Sophia landed in Athens. Dimitri met them at the airport, a thin man with kind eyes and a briefcase full of documents. The records show Eleni arrived in Kythera in April 1951, he explained, as they sat in a small cafe. She worked as the village's only medical provider for over 20 years. How did she get from the medical camp to Kythera? Sophia asked. Dimitri shook his head. Those details are missing. Many people were displaced during the war. Records from that time are incomplete. The next morning, they boarded a ferry to Kythera. As the mainland faded behind them, Mira stood at the rail, the wind pulling at her silver hair. I never thought I would see Greece again, she said quietly to Sophia. I wonder if Eleni looked out at this same sea, thinking of home. The island of Kythera was small and rugged, with whitewashed buildings climbing up steep hillsides. In the main village, Dimitri led them to the small clinic where Eleni had worked. It has been renovated many times since her day, he explained, but this is where she spent most of her time. They asked everyone they met about Eleni. Most were too young to remember her, but one elderly shopkeeper nodded when they showed him the photograph. The quiet nurse, he said in Greek, which Mira translated. She kept to herself, but she was a miracle worker with her hands. She saved my nephew's life when he had fever. An old woman named Athena invited them to her home when she heard their questions. She was bent with age, her face deeply lined, but her eyes were sharp. Eleni was my friend, she said simply, as she poured them thick Greek coffee. For many years, we took our evening walks together. Did she ever talk about her family? Mira asked, her voice trembling. About a sister named Mira? Athena nodded slowly. She tried to send letters, many letters, but she never knew if they reached anyone. She said the address she had was old, that her family had moved. We went to America, Mira said, tears filling her eyes. After we thought she died. She watched the harbor, Athena continued. Every boat that came, she would look to see if it brought news. After many years, she stopped looking. Mira covered her face with her hands. She thought we forgot her. Athena reached across and touched Mira's arm. No, she understood. War separated many families. Is she? Sophia couldn't finish the question. Athena's eyes filled with tears. Come, I will show you. She led them to a small cemetery overlooking the sea. The graves were simple, most marked with white crosses. At the far end, near a twisted olive tree, was a stone marker. The inscription, carved in Greek, read, Eleni Novak, Beloved Healer, 1931-2010. Mira collapsed to her knees beside the grave. I'm too late, she sobbed. Only 12 years too late. Sophia knelt beside her mother, holding her as she wept. The wind from the sea gently moved the branches of the olive tree above them, casting dappled shadows over the grave. After a long, while Athena touched Mira's shoulder, there is something else. Come back to my house. There, Athena went to an old wooden chest and removed a package wrapped in faded blue cloth. Eleni asked me to keep this, she said. She said, if my family ever comes looking for me, give them this. With shaking hands, Mira unwrapped the package. Inside was a leather journal filled with letters Eleni had written over decades but never sent. And beneath it, a sealed envelope, addressed in fading ink. For my little flower. Mira opened it with trembling fingers and began to read. As she did, her expression changed from grief to shock. What is it, Mom? Sophia asked. Mira looked up, her face pale. All these years, I thought the war kept us apart. But it wasn't the war. It was our father. She passed the letter to Sophia, who read it aloud. My dearest little flower, if you are reading this, you have finally found me. Though I may no longer be in this world, there is a truth I have carried alone all these years. I wasn't taken prisoner by either side in the Civil War. I discovered our father was secretly working with government forces, providing information that endangered our entire village. When I confronted him, he threatened to harm you if I ever returned or contacted our family. To protect you, my beloved sister, I stayed away. I chose to let you think I was dead rather than risk your life. My one comfort is believing you escaped the war and found peace. I hope someday you'll understand that everything I did was out of love for my little flower. As the sun set over the Aegean Sea, casting golden light across the water, Mira stood at her sister's grave. She placed wildflowers, little flowers, on the stone. I understand, she whispered. I understand now. That was the end of this story. I hope you enjoyed this emotional journey of family, sacrifice, and reunion across decades. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know what part of the world this story reached. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories like this one. Your support helps us continue creating content that touches hearts and connects people. Also, please consider sharing this video with friends and family who might appreciate it. Spreading these stories can inspire kindness and awareness in our communities, reminding us all of the enduring power of love and sacrifice. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to sharing another story with you soon.